Good morning and welcome to the market forecast. Tuesday, May the 18th. I'm John Hoagland. Thanks for trusting me with your time. Welcome. Another fine day in the markets. Some opportunities presenting themselves already. Hopefully, if you are in the markets already, things are going your way. As always, we're going to be hoping for accurate context, excellent risk management, and great patience on all of our parts this morning. We've got a great opportunity every day in these markets. Think risk first. Risk first. Everything I think about in anything that I'm going to be doing in the markets, I'm contemplating the risk first. Always looking for those small risk and bigger opportunities. This morning, as far as economic numbers came out, the housing starts and permits came out a little bit soft. U.S. equities stocks we're pointing to a higher opening this morning. They've come off a little bit since those numbers came out. More like a steady to higher opening than opening outright higher, it looks like. We did have Home Depot and Walmart release their earnings and revenues this morning. They both of them crushed it. They killed it. So that's at least good news for retailers here in the U.S. The dollar has now sunken to 3-month lows as the Fed continues to shrug off inflation fears with no real intentions or obvious intentions of tightening policy at all. Crude prices test March 2021 prices, those highs, as economies open up, expecting higher demand. With it's so difficult to try and to kind of decipher what crude traders are thinking with, the green energy being so popular and everything being so down on the fossil fuels. It's difficult to know what to do, and so we're going to look at the markets. We're going to just take a look and see what we see. We're going to be monitoring the auction process in all of these markets as always, and hopefully finding good opportunities as day traders to get into some good positions and some good opportunities. Perhaps an early opportunity in gold here this morning. We're going to take a look at it as always. And as always, I ask that you hit that like button, share, comment, question, feedback, and heckling are all welcome. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notifications when we do go live. A brief look at the VIX, the dollar index, and the 10-year yield a few minutes ago. VIX is down a little bit, back down below 20, 1970, off just a little bit off the close from yesterday. Dollar index down below 90 again now, 89.73 last I checked. And the 10-year yield down again, 1.62%, a little bit off of the close from yesterday as well. I don't even know what I'm saying here. I'm gonna say good morning to everybody, as always. Hey Theo, first in the room, you win the prize. Rick, my brother, good to see you. A system analyst, Ednelson, Brian, Richie, Ryan, Subconscious, Colin, Laura, Cesar, PD Legend, good to see you. Raven Wise, James, Trading Research, Vince, looking forward to talking to you today. Keith, Lamus, Vici, good to see you. Greg, Josiah, the chef is in the room. Mike Magallanes, Danny Ireland, and Jason, Rob T, George Adams, and all of you, welcome as always. I'm going to take a look here. We've got the opening range appearing to be the high of the session here as the crude oil opens, maybe with a slight gap, but pulling back into range from yesterday. Some small possible overnight inventory pushing us that way. Hey, Frederico, good to see you. And why don't we jump in here? Let me get the daily up so we get going from left to right, basically, is all we're doing here. And I'm going to get the chart up here so it looks nice and readable. Let's have a look. All right. So here, the daily in crude, looked like we were going to maybe have an opportunity to open above last week's high. That opportunity has now fallen. I was kind of be looking forward to maybe seeing a little bit of support there. It would have been a gap open. We did not manage to close or maintain that gap. Open testing last week's high. No help from open interest or rollover. Remember, this is now the July contract. July has more volume. I've switched over. There's no need to change any of your levels from June to July because the prices are basically at parity. They're very close together, so no reason, no need to change any of your levels at least, which is kind of nice. 66.63 is last week's high, and I'm looking at that this morning as an early pivotal level for us. Getting a warning on my stream here. It looks like everything's all right, though, so we'll press on. Looking now into the 30-minute chart. Okay, here's that last week's high. We did have perhaps a little bit of overnight inventory to the long side. That's now been resolved. So what we're looking at, we had a pretty decent move to the upside, which lost 29,000 in open interest. Again, probably more rollover related than auction process related. We've got crude oil, which rolls every month. So every month we have a week where we can't really depend too much on open interest to give us an indication of new business or old business in this market. So we've opened, perhaps leaving the opening range at the top of the session, closing the gap immediately, coming back into range and value from yesterday, opening outside of range and value, reaccepting back inside of value. There's a pretty decent probability that price will at some point in the session today give us an opportunity to see price back down to low of value from yesterday, which is 65.82. So with no inventory to look at, opening outside of range, perhaps reaccepting inside of value. If I'm looking for opportunities to buy this market, I'm going to see if we can get a move back down to value low from yesterday before looking to see if I can find some structure in the daytime frame before trying to jump into any longs in crude oil this morning. We've kind of moved into a kind of a high target area here between value high, and then we've got point of control, settlement very close. But the market does seem to be showing some signs of acceptance inside of value. So if I'm not short, if I'm thinking the market is strong and I want to buy weakness, move bit down to the low of value again, 65.82. Might be something that I would certainly give a look at. So right now, if I'm not short that open, I'm going to try and stay patient. We're in value. I believe there will be better trade locations as the day goes on. The E-mini S&Ps. This is the daily. Let's make it nice and big so we can all see. Last week's range, notified by these kind of light purple lines here, weekly kickoff levels, the black lines here, were really centrally located. Yesterday we had pretty low volume even on Friday. We lost 15,000 in open interest yesterday, so there wasn't any real interest in getting into any positions in longer time frame in such a central location between these important inflection levels. That low volume, we lost 15,000 in open interest again. Price very central inside this range. It's going to kind of keep us looking at short time frame levels with which to look for our opportunities. When I say short time frame levels, I'm saying value highs, value lows, points of control, range highs, range lows. It's going to be a challenging day, I believe, here in the S&Ps. Therefore, I'm going to try, as always, you guys probably tired of hearing me saying it, we're going to stay patient. Today, look at what we did yesterday. We had a pretty decent kind of rotational day. We didn't add any open interest, didn't really lose that much. It was an inside day and an inside day from Friday to yesterday, looking like we're going to be opening in range. No real overnight inventory. Settlement is right here. It's 41.57.75. Put that on your charts. And we're going to kind of look to stay patient. Was there an opportunity perhaps for a gap open? There was. The housing starts and permits numbers, I think, put a little bit of a damper on the upside move here. Nothing, I think, that's going to be too impactful over time. But we're not going to have any any open inventory. We're trading very close back to settlement. In range, above value, and still going to be looking at this as an area of value, really largely related to last Friday. I mean, we have last Friday's value low and yesterday's value low very close. We're opening in range, value high from Friday, relatively close to the high from the range from yesterday. Not seeing that there's great opportunity in this market. Now, we do want to kind of remind ourselves that there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on in the world, and the uncertainties that we can't expect, we certainly want to protect ourselves against. With the unrest in Israel and with Iran and all the other things going on in the globe and the world, we don't know when somebody's going to say something or if something is going to happen. So make sure you protect yourself. I'm really looking for any area or any level that I can find a decent opportunity to limit my risk in the S&Ps. Our overnight low is value high from yesterday. We opened outside of value. Acceptance inside of value could bring us an opportunity back down to low of value, similar to what we did in crude oil. Not quite as powerful because we did not open outside of value. We're going to be opening inside of value with great probability. So you're going to be trying to stay patient, look for better trade locations as the day goes on. Take a look at yesterday. I mean, we opened in range and in value. We had an opportunity on an inventory adjustment to look for a short here. We had an opportunity down here to look for a long against the low of the previous day's range, but it just goes to show you that when we open in range and value, being patient can be a good idea. The best trade locations for the day came within the first half hour of the session yesterday, and then much later. I mean, this is the 12:30 bar that we put in this low. One of the better trade locations of the day. Of course, best trade location up here. It's so easy to see in hindsight, but we can make that assumption that we're going to see better trade location whenever we open inside of range and particularly inside of value. Nothing happens the same way all the time. As a matter of fact, nothing seems to happen exactly the same way twice in futures trading. There's no right answer. It's our job to just look for opportunities to limit the risk that offer bigger rewards should the market go our way. None of us can make the market go that way for us. Stay patient in the S&Ps today and even in the NASDAQ. Relatively similar, but of course, always a little bit different. We've got an inside extended trading hour range so far between yesterday and today. Low volume yesterday. Open interest, we lost 1,800 in open interest. So very similar to the situation we had at in the S&Ps. Narrow range, low volume, no big changes in open interest. It seems as though this market is in a digestive state. It's just kind of hanging around, waiting for new information. Well, we've got FOMC minutes tomorrow. Is that what it's waiting for? Is there an expectation of some sort of headline news? We never know when that's going to happen. So I'm going to try again and stay patient today in the NASDAQ. It looks like we have an opportunity perhaps to open with a gap. The settlement is down here. We've got 13,303.50 as settlement. Put that on your charts. We got a little bit ahead of ourselves to the long side here when the London session opened. Sellers came in. We've been reconciling all of these longs ever since. I'm going to be watching to see if we can open with a gap. If we can open with a gap and can't close it, that might be our opportunity to look for a move to the upside. The gap close can be supportive. It can also end up being resistant. Looks as though the market is really attempting to reopen back inside yesterday's area of range, not necessarily value. Look at how even this bell curve is yesterday. It's almost telling us, okay, we're kind of done with this area. We've kind of facilitated all of the trade that we're going to in this area. We're going to be looking for a new area to take a look for opportunities. So again, opening with a gap, unable to close the gap relatively early, would have us looking for opportunities to the upside in the NASDAQ. Reacceptance inside of range, and especially inside of value, gives us the look or the possibility that price may return to the low of value from yesterday to look for another opportunity for longs if that is in your hypothesis. Without bad news, we can, with some reasonable expectancy, think about these markets continuing the grind to the upside, because without bad news, that's just what they do. Gold is continuing to shine as an opportunity for us this morning. We've got higher pricing yesterday on increased volume. We added 18,000 in open interest. All of the auction information that we're seeing in gold is saying, yeah, this upside auction is remaining healthy. Higher volume, increasing open interest on higher prices means people are still willing to pay up for this product, and it's going to be another interesting trading day for us today. So we've got good volume, we've got good open interest, we've got a pretty decent move to the upside. We had a breakout above last week's high. Take a look at the 30. Okay. No overnight inventory. The market kind of opened up with a gap, closed the gap, found a little bit of support near the gap, but now has kind of given us a look back down to our overnight low, not quite reaching that. So there's opportunity here. It's going to be dicey. The market opened it with a gap. It closed the gap. If it accepts inside value from yesterday, acceptance is, of course, subjective. Some people say you get 2 TPOs inside of value. That marks reacceptance. Some people say you want 2 30-minute bars to close inside of the previous day's value to mark acceptance. This can be a tricky play, but if we spend too much time in value here, that's going to start to tell traders we're accepting yesterday's value. And again, that brings the opportunity at some point during the session for price to perhaps rotate back to the low of value from yesterday and perhaps give us a better trade location for longs moving forward. So it's, to me, all about acceptance inside of yesterday's value. Value high yesterday, 1869 even. If we spend too much time in there, that's going to say, okay, we've kind of rejected higher prices. We're reaccepting value from yesterday. Well, let's see what it looks like at the low of value. It's going to be I say it all the time, these markets are always fascinating. They're always interesting and always challenging. Going to be cool, even if you don't participate in gold, to see how that plays out for us today. Now, finally, a little bit of life here in the euro. Weak dollar has the euro pushing higher, continuing to follow longer time frame structure. We had a break in it here. We're back into upside structure, higher lows, higher highs. This move above last week's high does kind of bring out a breakout type of potential, and it looks like we've started to do that already today. Take a look at the overnight session. I'm finding this pretty fascinating. One more thing about yesterday. We added 3,600 in open interest yesterday. On really low volume, small range. Somebody came in and started to move some product in the euro yesterday. Thinking if they were getting long, they're benefiting from that right now. Take a look now into the 30-minute chart. So settlement is here. You can put that on your chart, 121.65 and a half ticks. Look at where the volume came in at 1 o'clock in the morning last night. There was no real activity up until then, but 1 o'clock was as London started to open up. We started to see some buyers in here. Think they were noticing a little weakness in the dollar. I would say that's a pretty good guess. So all night long, we brought in really good volume in the London session. We've got a gap. This is a big gap. Really unlikely for us to come all the way back down and close that gap. We've got a couple of barriers between us and that gap and settlement, the main one being last week's high. If we get the opportunity to see an execution down near last week's high, that's something I would certainly look at, because it allows me, number one, as I said, we're going to be looking to limit risk, and if we can get an opportunity on something that was resistant last week, was resistant overnight as this market started to move higher, became supportive, a move back towards it, gives us that opportunity to use it as a potential support level, and then, of course, that gives us the opportunity to limit the risk. So going to be just kind of looking for opportunities as the day goes on. We opened out of range and out of value. Some of our bigger opportunities are going to probably happen early on in the session, and you can kind of see that we put in the regular trading hour session high in the 7:30 bar here. So this may actually end up being the best trade location of the day if the market continues to rotate lower back towards last week's high. And all right. The 10-year continues to be somewhat of a drag. It's not really high on my radar today. We're centrally located between weekly kickoff levels as well as last week's high and low. We did add 7,100 in open interest yesterday, so it does seem to be that there may be a little bit of energy beginning to build back into this market. Small open interest increase, but it may be starting to tell us something. I'm looking at this market as a very short time frame controlled market. We've got a lot of time in this area of balance, and that's going to kind of keep the longer time frame traders just holding pat until there's some sort of change in the market state. I think we're going to be looking at mostly at shorter time frame participants here. The 30-minute chart. All right, so open, in range, and in value. Very narrow range yesterday. Not a lot of big opportunity. Did add, again, 7,100 in open interest on a largely sideways to the upside kind of day. Settlement, 1:32 and 11:30 seconds. No real overnight inventory. The market opened in range and value. Went up to test yesterday's range high, found a little bit of resistance there. This is what I'm talking about when we're talking about short time frame levels with which to look for opportunities. Of course, yesterday's session high, when we're looking at shorter time frame traders, is going to be a spot for us to take a look at a short. We don't know if it's going to end up being the high of the session or not, but at the very least, it's offered a pretty decent downside opportunity for those who recognized, hey, this is short time frame control. This is yesterday's high. If I can get one sold up here, maybe I can get a nice little pullback, and it comes back all the way to settlement. So some decent smaller opportunities this morning. Gold, I think, is going to be more of a challenge than it was yesterday. I think we've got our work cut out for us in the equities. I think it's going to be one of our more challenging days. It does seem as though some of these markets are waiting for new information, perhaps tomorrow with the FOMC minutes. I think a lot of traders and investors are really kind of looking for the Fed to start to soften up a little bit on, or I should say firm up a little bit on some of the things that they might be starting to use to quell some of the budding inflation that they seem to be ignoring. So it's going to be another interesting trading day. Frederico, good to see you. Dan D, would you ever consider trading live on channel? Yeah, I mean, it's something I would consider doing, but because of the way Top Step is run, if I'm taking trades live and I take a bad trade, and somebody's in the trading combine, they can kind of say that, well, I caused them to do that, and that's something that we want to be very cautious with. Even the people that I work with in a closer way, they don't often get to see or hear what I'm doing, because I'm not here to hand out fish, Dandy. I'm here to try and help you know where the fish are and to help you find those fish. I've got somebody at the door, and I don't know who this is. Hopefully, it's just a drop off of a package, but we're going to get down to business. Let's take our deep breath. Stay humble, grateful, and creative today. I will see you back here for the market recap today. Dan's out until Thursday, so hopefully he's relaxing and having a good time. And we will see you this afternoon. Market recap, 3 p.m. Looking forward to seeing how these markets have played out for us. Have a great trading day. Get out there and profit, and we'll see you soon.